Hey everybody, Robert Phoenix here. I'm wearing a hood this morning because it's so cold in Fredericksburg. Also because I thought that the hood might actually trigger people today. Say, oh look at him, he's wearing a hood. He must in our society now. I'm wearing a hood, a pointed hood. Oh, I must be a Satanist. I must be a fascist. I must be. Go. We got some issues today. Interesting. Are we reconnected now? Nobody's showing up today. There's no people here today. Let me remove the seats. I don't look great today. Yeah, there's somebody. I'm going to keep the hood on. You know what? I'm going to go with the Phillies hat. There we go. All right. We're back to the show. The really, really big show. I just had to throw the hood on. I could do hood and Phillies cap simultaneously. Now it's like, well, what has he got going on here? Okay, he's wearing a hood, all right, and he's wearing a cap. Is this kind of a hip hop thing? Is he like sporting a hip hop image today? I mean, come on. Fashion is fashion. But apparently, if you wear a MAGA cap in public now, or you hoist a Trump flag, you are considered a threat, a danger, and an enemy to the people. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Today's topic of the show. Again, I have no chat today. Apparently, I've been banned from my own chat. So there's another chat happening somewhere else that I'm not privy to. I tell you what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something. I might be able to actually interact with you. Let's see what goes on here. If I go into my channel and look for my channel. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, so let's see. Let's go into my.
Showing up right
Hold
now.
on 1 second.
Slowly we trickle in. Hey, I got a short.
Just trying to see my own chat. That would be interesting. Let's see what we have here. All right, got this down. Oh yeah, now I can see my own chat. Look at that. So I basically have outfoxed the beast. So I'm looking at my live stream. Looking at my live stream as one of you. Too much hoodie. I know. Good morning, everybody. So I get to see you now, even though on my live stream, I can't get to see you. Isn't that odd? Like I figured out how to hack the system. So I could just go in and look at you as another participant. My hood is offending you. I know, that was the whole idea. That was the whole idea. I'm going to talk a little bit about this thing that's going on with the Covington kids, but I also wanted to follow up with something yesterday that I talked about. I was talking about how the news is filtered and protected by the intelligence agencies, and I talked about how they essentially have people in positions of managing editor, editor-in-chief, news director at the major media outlets, major newspapers, major networks, and they run the news through these filters. So I want to give you an adjunct to that, or another piece to add on to that. So when I was back in Colorado, doing a lot of the Gaia shows, I got to know Jay Widener, as some of you might know. Jay and I became pretty good friends, and he told me this story about Jesse Ventura. And Jay and Jesse did a show one time on True TV, and it was where they were cruising around the Denver airport, and they were looking at the anomalies of the Denver airport. And it was Jesse's show, and Jay was a guest, and Jay knew all about the Denver airport and the massive amount of dirt that was excavated from the Denver airport, which should not add up to the amount of dirt that would theoretically be there in that space. So, they went into the sort of the subtext, the literal and figurative subtext of the Denver airport and what's beneath the Denver airport. Anyway, it's really fascinating stuff. So Jay got to know Jesse a little bit, and Jesse Ventura told him a story, which I will share with you. So Jesse Ventura, as most of you know, was a one-term governor for the state of Minnesota. Nothing like that will ever happen again. And after he was elected, on his first day of office, he goes into his office there at the state capitol, and he goes into his office, and there are his aides who are there, ready, waiting, and willing to serve him on his first day of office. And one of them walks up to him and says, Governor Ventura, there are some people that are waiting for you in the antechamber down below, and they'd like to have a word with you on your first day. So Jesse Ventura goes down there with his aide de camp, and he opens the door, and he sees a room of people that have assembled there. And the odd thing about these people in that room is that he recognized most of them. These were people who worked at the dry cleaners. These were people who worked at the place where he got his coffee. He saw these people on a daily basis. So who were these people? These people worked for, guess what? The intelligence agencies. I believe they were NSA, if not CIA. They're one of the two groups. They weren't FBI. So they were all there basically debriefing him, and they wanted to know more about him, right? So he shares this story with Jay. And it blew Ventura's mind when it happened, and it blew Jay's mind. But I'm sharing it with you because it's not just what happens in TV stations or newspapers or radio stations where information and news is filtered. It happens in day-to-day life. There are people that are embedded in day-to-day life that actually have kind of a dual role, or they're playing the role of dual agents. So there's a lot more going on to reality than people understand. And it's kind of an interesting insight in a lot of ways about, how that works. So just another little share for you. Speaking of reality, in our interface with reality, some of you are aware of the impending dangers with 5G, which I've talked about at great length before here on this show and other platforms. And you may want to know what to do about it. Well, they're having some issues with 5G as they roll it out, because guess what? People are getting sick, really sick. And they're trying to figure out how they're going to modulate this thing, because ultimately 5G's got to be a commercial tool, right? It's got to be able to perform a commercial role. And if people are getting sick, even when they roll it out, it's not going to be successful as a commercial tool. And it's important because everything needs to be connected with 5G, the Internet of Things, right? So they can't roll it out and have everybody just kind of drop like flies immediately. That would not really work. It's got to work first. It's got to set everything up so that your appliances can talk to other appliances and be on the grid and send information and all that stuff. If people are in the hospital and they're dropping like flies, it's not really successful. There's a commercial and practical application that has to be in place in order for 5G to be at one level successful, right? People need to pay for it. You need to pay for your dis-ease for at least a limited period of time. And if they want to make you feel uncomfortable or unwell, they want to be able to flip a switch to do that, right? Not just flip a switch and everybody starts feeling sick. So they're having issues with it. That said, probably would be helpful for you to understand how you can deal with it. So on Friday, I'm going to have a guest, and it's Masaki Miyagama, Maz for short. Sorry, I might have butchered the early morning pronunciation. And he's a good friend, good Facebook friend, and he's really into orgone and hooking up Rife machines to orgone. And it's all about defense against 5G and other radical frequency disruptors. So he's going to be on the show on Friday, and we're going to get into this. And we're going to have some images and pictures with his stuff. So it'll be a really interesting hour and a half or 2 hours. He's a fascinating guy, and he knows a lot more than just how to create really interesting, beautiful, intricate orgone periods that jack into Rife machines. So it'll be a magic carpet ride on Friday. I just want to give you some sort of, want to pump it up a little bit. Okay. Sorry, it's been an early morning. I had to go out and get my car worked on, and it is super cold here, or at least for me. It's in the, it's about 33 degrees. We've got 20-mile-an-hour winds, and it's probably getting down around less than 30 with the wind chill factor. So I'm still just recovering from my sojourn out into the world, so to speak. I wanted to talk about the event that's taken place in Washington over the weekend, and it's not good. It's really, really not good, and it really gives you a sense as to where this country is right now. So again, just to if you're living under a rock, let me just bring this up and fill in the details. There was a group of kids from Covington day school. It's a Catholic school in Kentucky. They were at the Washington Monument, and there as a group, and they were all pretty much, white boys, white girls. There was a group called the Hebrew Black Israelites, and they started to heckle and pester these kids. And they were just going after them. They were going after their background, their skin tone. They were just going after them, right? And so the kids, being kids, started to chant, and they started to do all kinds. Kids are kids. They're teenagers, okay? They're teenagers. These are Pluto and Sag kids too. Remember that. They have Pluto and Sagittarius, and they're very different than the millennials. Gen Z is very different. The kid, they're Pluto and Sag are very philosophical, very truthful, and they're probably going to be more conservative than the millennials. If you look at how they dress, they wear athletic wear. They're not your typical. They're more casual. They're more athletic. They're kind of more breezy, but they definitely have a bit of a conservative streak running through them. So what they did is that they all of a sudden decided to do a haka dance. Now, I'm surprised that somebody hasn't gotten after them for some sort of cultural appropriation or misappropriation of the dance, which comes out of the South Pacific area, Borneo, New Guinea, Hawaii, Polynesia. They stick the tongue out and go, ha, ooh, ha, ha, that kind of thing. Anyway, they did that, and then there was more heckling coming from the other side, and they decided they were going to get down on one knee, which was sort of like, doing the Kaepernick thing. It was very, it was kind of clever in some ways. What do you expect these kids to do? Just sit there? Just sit there and have a blank stare in their face? Just sit there and watch everything like this? Be zombified? Be nonplussed? They're kids. Okay? And based on the fact that these guys were ragging them and getting on them, and then you have Nathan Phillips. Boom, 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 boom. Right? This guy is, I'm sorry, he's a pathetic excuse for an activist. All right? I'm sorry, he is. I knew John Trudell. That guy is an activist. If John Trudell had been there, John Trudell would have broken out into an articulate monologue. John would have given a speech, and he would have addressed both sides. And he would have told both sides that there's a much bigger thing going on, right? But instead, we have this other guy who, gets in on the act and decides that he's going to bang his drum and get into the kid's face. Now, the kid is caught with a MAGA hat on, which apparently is now a punishable offense in the court of public opinion. I'm not a MAGA guy. I don't have a MAGA hat. I wouldn't even wear a MAGA hat because I wear a Phillies hat. And I'm not even into the Phillies. I just like the hat, right? So, but now apparently having a MAGA hat is a punishable offense in the court of public opinion. It is a sin. It is a mortal sin, and it is guilt by association. And the association is that if you wear a MAGA hat, you are hateful, a bigot, a racist, a homophobe. And as Alyssa Milano says, it is the new hood. It's the new hood. That's what apparently it is. So he was wearing a MAGA hat. And then we have the picture. Well, today I posted something on Facebook. And it has to do with the fact that in 1984, George Orwell talks about something called face crime. Face crime, which means that you have to have the appropriate expression at a given point in time. And if you don't have the appropriate expression at a given point in time, guess what happens? You are judged in the court of public opinion. So having a shit-eating grin on your face is an indictment. He did not have the right facial expression. So moving forward now, what does that do to people? It's like, oh wow, there may be cameras around here. I really have to think about not just what I think about, or not just or what I say. Now I got to think about how I express myself. Maybe I should have just it'd be really great, interesting. I couldn't do it because I have facial hair. But if people, as a form of protest, were able to paint downward frowns, right? Frowns on their faces, like clowns, they have the shadow clown face. Okay. If they did that as a form of protest, like that'd be such a mindfuck. People just walking around, oh, do I have the right facial expression on today? Then all of a sudden people would be mocking clowns, right? Mocking clowns. Don't you have any sensitivity towards clowns? How do you think a clown feels when you're doing that? You're clowning a clown. That's not acceptable. Only clowns can clown clowns. We're living in a weird world. And it's getting weirder all the time. Is this event the Maginot Line? Have we crossed the Maginot Line? They had to close their school. There are death threats against the kid. There are death threats against his mother. And this is all planned. And we're entering into the zone of continual subversion. Now, I talked about today on Facebook, just a little brief snippet, that this is how the Bolshevik Revolution started. This is how the War of 1917 started, right? It actually started before that. The revolution went on for about 3 years, but the Bolsheviks really got involved in that final year. March 8th, 1917 to 11/9/1917, which is theoretically when the Bolshevik Revolution ended. Now, ironically enough, 11/9 was the day of the election in 2016. So it was announced that Trump was the winner of the 2016 presidential election, becoming the 45th president of the United States on the 99th anniversary of the victory of the Bolsheviks. Isn't that interesting? Which I've talked about a little bit before. And what happened with the Bolsheviks is, of course, there was the Tsar, the head of the Romanov family, the last Tsar, and there was a continual degrading of the Tsar and the Tsaress in the court of public opinion. And it was widespread, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger with each and every day. And ultimately, it just completely rolled out of control as the forces, opposing forces, and there were two different factions who came together. It was the Russian Navy and the Russian military and then the Bolsheviks, and they eventually joined forces. And once the Tsar was overthrown, there was supposed to be a share, right? A timeshare in the government and the power of the new republic or the new Soviet Union, right? And what happened was that the Bolsheviks, as soon as they got in, they're like, You guys are out of here. And then they summarily just started to assassinate the other group, the other wing of the Bolshevik Revolution, which essentially comes out of the Russian Navy, right? And then that was it. They were in the seat of power. They were in the throne of power, and we're moving in that direction now. Ocasio-Cortez has been weaponized and turned loose. There's not a day now where you don't see her. It's really interesting. Okay, now there's a government shutdown. Is she getting paid? I guess she's getting paid. I guess that's why she's able to fly all over the place. She's getting paid. But I'm assuming also that there are other people who are helping her get from point A to point B to point C, to go to the Colbert Show, to do the interview with Coates the other day. I mean, so she's all over the place. There's not a moment or a day where we don't get our daily dose of vitamin AOC. And this is what's happening now. She's been weaponized. She's been turned loose against the American people. She's the modern day version of Emma Goldman. And it is on. I'm telling you, it is on like Donkey Kong. Everything has been escalated at this point. And I'd love to say that cooler heads will prevail. They really should prevail if you have a little bit of rationality and common sense and detachment. You can see things for what they are, which is a total charade. People are getting ginned up, and people getting riled up, and people getting turned against one another as the puppet masters laugh and cackle and glee with delight over the fact that we're getting closer and closer and closer to brandishing sharp and pointed objects at one another's throats. This is quite unfortunate. Now, it would be great if we could just say, can't we all get along? Is there an ambassador of peace out there that can bring this thing into some level of stability and balance, equilibrium? I don't know. Maybe not. Right now it feels like a ship without a rudder in a lot of ways. Of course, on the right-handed side, we've got Trump, who is hunkering down and making, sticking close to his, we're not going to restart the government unless we fund the wall. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Okay. So we've had the Democrats reject his offer, reject his DACA offer, and he could be offering up a cure for cancer, and they're going to reject it. So we have a serious stalemate here, very serious stalemate. And his base is starting to erode, and not his hardcore base, though. Like, they'll hang in there through thick and thin, but it's sort of like the outer fringe of the base, the people that came over and started to work on they converted the Rust Belt states. People who were Democrats, union people, they saw Trump as somebody who might actually care about them. And that's where he won the election. He flipped states like Wisconsin, Minnesota. I mean, it was really very unusual. Michigan, Ohio, he carried those states. In many instances, those states have been Democrat for a long period of time. So one of the things that we haven't heard about from Trump lately are his business victories and being able to secure businesses and bring businesses home from doing business overseas, or making sure that businesses expand. He hasn't done much of that lately. And in fact, I think if he really wanted to do something different, instead of being hunkered down in a war that is extremely polarizing with the left and the right, he would move out and diverge, and he would do something different. He would do something creative. He would do something that would be asymmetric. Maybe what he would do is he would start a fundraiser for government employees that are out of work. He could go to all the different corporations, since he's a big corporate guy, and say, hey, look, we need to have a bit of a slush fund, or, they're creative solutions to what's going on. And he would need to do something like that in order to say, hey, I'm aware of the fact that these people are suffering. I'm aware of the fact that they've got issues. Now, theoretically, Trump is a billionaire. I don't believe that. I don't think Trump has as much money as people say he has. I think he's a guy that lives on a lot of fluid capital and whatever kind of asset reserves he has in terms of property and projects. But I don't think he has enough money to say, hey, look, I've got $20 million just sitting over here. Let me take $20 million of my money and put it over here as a private citizen so that I can help pay these government workers, which theoretically would be great if he could do that, because now all of a sudden it's like, wow, he really cares about these people. He's going into his own pocketbook and he's helping them out while we go through this time where people are having a hard time paying their mortgages if they are one of the furloughed workers. But that's not happening because I don't think he has that much money. I think his reputation is not really quite up to what people think it is. That's just my instinct. Okay. Does he have millions? Probably. But in that world, that's not very much. Who knows? Nancy Pelosi's worth $200 million. Maybe she's worth more than Trump. You never know. I mean, in terms of liquidity, you never know. So we're at this place now where everything is heated, everything is charged. And if you look back on, the reign of Obama one, again, one of the things that happened was as soon as Trayvon Martin died, race became weaponized. That's what happened. And it was weaponized all through the Obama administration and the run right out of the White House. But now what's happened is that it started off as a black-white dynamic, right, in issue. Now it's become more widespread. Now it's not only African Americans in the Black community, it's women, it is the transgender community. Now apparently we have Native Americans. Of course, we have what's going on south of the border. So all of a sudden now we have this, they're trying to build the idea and the assemblage of a coalition. It's not just one group versus another group. Now it's a number of groups versus one group. And this is dangerous. This is very dangerous. This wasn't what this country was founded on. And for quite a while, to be honest with you, it wasn't that big of a deal. We got along. People sorted out their differences. People worked together. People played together. But apparently now that is not part of the program anymore. And if you haven't gotten the memo, I'm giving it to you now. Okay, this is a very different environment, very different reality we're occupying. And I think it's really important to understand that. There are certain principles, there are certain beliefs, there are certain statutes still that are a part of the general political fabric of the country, but they're being ripped to shred every single day now. And some of the stuff doesn't even really matter anymore. So that said, those are the pillars or the foundation that have allowed us to have a basic organizing principle, and to live in a fairly cohesive world with some semblance of order. Order is out the window now. It's gone. It's gone. I will say this though. I was watching this clip on The View, and I have to give Whoopi Goldberg some credit. Whoopi Goldberg was talking about this video with Nick Sandmann, hence the title Enter Sandman, because that's his last name, Sandmann. He's and Nick, by the way, this is an interesting sort of play on the synchro mesh of the Matrix. And Nick is the devil. You know that, right? That's who Nick is. Nick is the devil. It is a nickname for the devil. Nick is Beelzebub. So he is the Sandman, right? Sandman, which is the sleep, putting you to sleep. It's the trance. So Nick Sandman. So it's the trance of the devil, right? This is what, isn't it fascinating? It's totally, I think it's fascinating. Anyway, she was talking about how once there were a number of different videos that were being shot, okay, and saw the event from different perspectives. I mean, this is almost like the Zapruder film now. What it did is it's essentially deconstructed the original narrative, that it was the kid who was aggressive, race baiting, shit-eating grin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So once that happened, once there was a different picture associated with it, It's like, okay, well, where do we go from here? Because that was given to us as a piece of reality, as a little sinewy strand of truth in that moment. And it really wasn't. How do you walk that back? So Whoopi Goldberg brought this up on The View. And to her credit, she was actually questioning how we participate and view so-called reality. Meanwhile, Joy Behar was just gleefully saying, well, we'll believe anything because we just got to get Trump out of office. Whatever works, right? So she typifies this mindset where she's been entranced. She's in the sleep of the Sandman, and it is a trick of Nick. It is a trick of the devil because she believes what she believes, and what she believes is her version of the truth. In actuality, it's being programmed. Most people are programmed, and it's really an interesting exercise in viewing our own programming and being able to disassemble it. And to do that takes some wherewithal, and to be able to disconnect from certain programs that you've inherited or you've been inculcated by. This takes a lot of work. But once you get to it and once you take it apart and you realize what's going on, it's a lot harder to be manipulated. It's a lot harder to be. And I suggest this for just about anybody because manipulation can occur on a number of different levels. It can happen out there in the world. It can also happen in your own life. You know, you can have people try to manipulate you on a daily basis. You can have your own self will try to manipulate you at times and manipulate you into doing things that are against your will or against your better judgment, right? This is what happens. And so if we can deconstruct these programs, we are less beholden to this sense of manipulation or the act of covert manipulation that occurs in our lives on a daily basis. It is a spiritual exercise. It's a spiritual exercise because what it does is theoretically it makes us more free, or at least more free in our perception. That's important because if you can respond to something that happens in any given moment from that place, then you have an opportunity to be at the very least more free to be an active participant in your own life. Okay, I think it's where it's at. I think it's where it's at. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing these. How do I say this? They're almost schizophrenic. The schizophrenic gyrations of a culture that's tearing itself apart. And this is what's happening. I want to check in with you guys, so I'm going to go over to the user side or the viewer side. So I get to split myself off now. I get to be here, and then I get to be in another place at the same time. So I'm actually practicing from a bilocation as I go through the show today. Let's see what we have here. What was Ted Danson thinking when he put his Willie in Whoopi? I don't know. I'll tell you what, though. When Ted Danson did that, he and Whoopi were doing whiteface. And if they did that today, they wouldn't be working anymore. What else? You're the truck of the devil. Like what you're doing now. Oh, here we go. Here we go. See you later. I get to remove people. I get to remove people. Put user in timeout. See you later, user. See you later. Whoopi Goldberg is ridiculous. She's a joke. Whoopi Goldberg in that moment was able to break with her program. Dude. She actually offered up something that was outside of their view. Dude. How's that? It's not a joke. Yeah, there you go. Delete it, delete it, delete it. Ha ha ha. It feels good. You have two trolls. I know. One of them is gone now. And the other guy, see you later. Adios. Remove. See you later, King of the Hill vids. It's the same two fuckers that show up here every day. You're in timeout. Get out of here. Remove. Get the hell out of my channel. Get the hell out of my channel. Remove. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the king of this channel. I am the lord of this channel. Trick of the devil. That's right. Trick of the devil. How about that? See, I get to look in on you guys now. There it is. What is wrong with people? If you're not here for production, I got him out. See you later. You bet. Get the fuck out of my channel. How's that? I don't mind having a little expletive thrown in there. What is wrong? No, they want to tar and feather me. Like the same two clowns that come in every single day. Don't you have better time? Why don't you take your money now and why don't you go to Burger King or Jack in the Box or Taco Bell and have a real good time out. There you go. See, it's a good thing it bilocated. You have two trolls, they're gone. I never believed they were monkeyed with disclosing death days, but this Catholic bastion says just too coincidental. RF reduction in force, be clear. What else do we have here? Thanks, Robert. And all. I was unfamiliar with those trolls. So they're the same trolls, the same people that show up. They're Desert Fox, probably Cat Lady, who, it's the same people that come in and spew their crap on my channel. Just keep coming back and I'll just keep 86ing you. That's the way it is. Okay. And it's interesting, this event happened on the eclipse. It did. So now we're dealing with this eclipse energy. We're dealing with this eclipse energy. We're dealing with this event, which is sort of like, it's like, how do I say this? It's like a Polaroid of the event. It's a Polaroid of the event. It's emblazoned and embossed on our consciousness with the energy of the eclipse. Let me just go back here and check and see what's going on. Are you from Canada, USA? As a foreigner, I can't tell. Does it matter where I'm from? Does it really matter? I'm not even from this planet, right? I'm not even from this world. I think YouTube uses these trolls to get you to say or express something to have your channel. Yeah, good luck. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm clear what my message is. Okay? As an alien foreigner, I can't tell. What do you think? Where do you think I'm from? Whoopi is the program. She is, right? But I tell you, she stepped out of the view. She just stepped out of the view in that moment. Right? So here's my thing. I'm gonna give Whoopi credit. I'm gonna give her credit. I don't care if somebody's like always ramming the program. I mean, she stepped out of that moment and she questioned why they had a loaded reaction to that narrative, a preloaded reaction. And the best Joy Behar could come up with was tee hee hee because we want Trump out so badly. And waiting for the applause from the audience, it never came. Whoopi, at least in that moment, had the audacity to question why we react the way we react. And to that, I tip my cap to Whoopi. No, I'm not from Canada. I was born in France, and I live in the United States. There you go. How's that? All right. I tell you what I like about some of the action in the chat room is it gets me going. It pumps me up, right? Just come back, and I'll cut your ass out again until finally, who knows? Maybe you'll overwhelm me with a bunch of people I have to cut out and just keep hitting delete, 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 delete. And if that's the case, then I'll figure out a different way. We'll still continue to do this. We'll take the party elsewhere, but not going to shut me down. You're not going to pollute my chat room. And I'm not going to allow you to harass the people that are in there because they won't want to come back because there are assholes in my chat room who are running a program. It's not going to happen, right? I am protective of those people. So do what you want to do. I am from Denmark, Europe. Just have to say we love Trump. Well, you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad you love Trump because somebody's got to love Trump. I was thinking about this the other day. People talk about prayer. They really, really talk about prayer and what prayer means and the power of prayer. So let's say Trump really, really, really has some power because he's in a particular position, even though the president Probably doesn't have as much power as we think they do. But I thought about what would happen if we really, really prayed for Trump. And let's say Trump was like kind of, let's say he was an agent of Zionism, right? He was an agent of Zog because of everything he's done with Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and all that stuff, right? Let's say he is that. He's got all the Christian Zionists laying hands on him every day, making him feel real important. So let's say he is that, okay? But let's say he is maybe exploring other modes of consciousness, right? And what if people did pray for him, and then all of a sudden he wakes up, right? It's this power of the prayer that wakes him up, and whatever evil he's done, whatever shady deals he's done, whatever Epstein moments he's had in the past, because we can't overlook that stuff, right? We just can't overlook it. Then all of a sudden he's overwhelmed by a force and a power inside of him that essentially lifts him up and brings him out of his past and redeems. Some people might say that's the Holy Spirit, quite possibly. What if that happened? Now all of a sudden you're dealing with somebody who's switched on and connected into this conduit. So I thought about that. And I thought about, well, why didn't we do that with Barack Obama? Could he have been sort of the same thing? Could we have prayed for him and the same kind of moment could have occurred for him? That all of a sudden the lights would have come on in his brain and he could have lived up to the promise of uniting the country and all the things that he theoretically stood for. I mean, yeah, why not? Why not? I'm not advocating it. I was just throwing it out there. I was just throwing it out there as a concept more than anything. Okay, let's see what we have going on in Chatlandia. Hope we had a Trump here in Europe when we had the criminal immigrants flooded Europe. Maurice Demers. Yeah. Hey, things going on in Europe is real. It's a real deal. I'm sorry. Lazy retro gamer, I think you're on your own. There ain't no white hats coming in. And when they try to come in, Europe is just going to shut them down. Okay. I'm out of here. I am out of here. Thanks for showing up. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll have my finger on the trigger and get these people out of their. I'll just get these people out of here when they need to be ejected. Hit the ejector seat button. Have a great day. I'm Robert Phoenix. You can find me at robertphoenix.com and over on Facebook. All right. Take good care. I'll see you tomorrow.